Welcome back to the Fake Straight Podcast. I'm the host, your girl, Tanara. Please note that the opinions expressed by any guests on this show do not necessarily represent my views or the views of Fake Straight Media. This podcast is intended for mature audiences only. Listener discretion is advised. Grab your favorite beverage or mine, a glass of champagne, clink clink, and let's get into it, y'all. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Fake Straight Podcast. I'm your host, your girl, Tanara. I'm so happy to have y'all on. Please introduce yourselves.
I'm Lauren, and I am from Houston. My pronouns are she and her. You can get away with a they because some people are confused about my facial hair. Lesbian, queer, never really had to put a label on it. I just love me some women.
I'm Nathalie, and I'm from Orlando, Florida. You can call me she, her. I don't really claim lesbian, even though I am in a lesbian relationship. This is my first lesbian relationship.
All right, so we met in 2019 in South Korea, in Seoul, and we were there to teach English. I remember in my mind, I was like, man, I'm single. I'm not trying to be in a relationship. On the night I met her, even though I had in my mind, man, Nathalie can get it. I was like, she's straight as hell. No.
Look, everybody is straight until they're not. Okay, so y'all have been together for 5 years. Y'all had a little break. Now, Let's talk about this. Was it a break or was it a breakup?
This was a breakup with the intention of being back together. So during this 8-month breakup where we were both living in Florida at this time, but I moved back to Houston and we lived separately for 8 months. Before I left, we made this intention of hey, you are the person I want to be with. It's just that we can't figure out what we need to figure out. This is just getting too, it was really communication issues, expectations, her getting to know herself more, or outside obligations and expectations. Her mom was diagnosed with cancer. It was so much going on. A little bit after that pandemic.
I was in a very transitional space where my entire identity of who I was being challenged. In the space of being a caregiver for my mother, showing up in the best ways that I thought I could, in addition to showing up for my job and pouring everything into my job. And on the other end, having this relationship that I also truly cared about and wanted to make sure I was doing all that I could. I was pouring myself in all of these funnels that I cared about, but I was losing in the end. I tell the story that's why my hair is locked, because I had gotten to such a point that I didn't even have time or the energy, the capacity to do my hair. So I just twisted my hair up so I could wake up in the morning to go to work, and I just never took the twist out. That's literally what happened. I wasn't even in a space to talk to anybody else, was not even within my scope, because I need to focus on giving back to myself. That's something that we really always fall back to, especially in our own practice as communication coaches, is to recognize within your own relationship, there are transitions that are happening all the time. Your roles are shifting, the balance is shifting. What used to work doesn't always work, and you always have to reconfigure and mesh and figure things out. Sometimes the best way to figure those things out is going to be apart.
We were fighting to stay together, but butting heads the whole time.
Right.
Yeah. And we just cried, and it was painful, and it's just this is what we are going to do. And it was kind of that moment where you just you're trying to hold on so bad and you're just making stuff worse. And it was that moment where you just let go. And the moment we let go, it was an amicable breakup, and it was so peaceful.
Oh my God, that would be so difficult.
Yeah, because all this stuff was breaking inside of me. Things with my family, traumas were popping up. And so at this point, I would say that this happened for me first and then Nathalie. So mine happened during the pandemic. Hers happened when we were living in Florida. We just didn't have the bandwidth and the tools. And we're we got to be apart to not mess this up. But
Yeah,
when
yeah,
we come back to her hometown, where she's around family now, again, she's been away in Korea for 5+ years,
yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Away in
and then
college for
comes,
5 years.
away at college, come to DC, she's away. Then when you go back to your home and you're being faced with people who think they know you and they treat you in certain ways, they still have 16-year-old or 17-year-old Natalie in their
Shit,
head.
5-year-old Natalie.
Yeah. And so when I was around her family, I was like, this is not Natalie.
You're like, who is this? Yeah,
No,
uh-huh.
I was like, girl, speak up for yourself. And she's
Yeah,
like, well, that's my family. I was like, this is toxic.
yeah.
This is the time frame where she realized like people pleasing was a thing, and
Mm,
that people benefited off of the old versions of her and they didn't know the adult Natalie. And so that's what was coming up during that time too.
mm-hmm.
And that's where a lot of shifting happened that I was like, listen, I gotta let you handle this in Florida by yourself.
Yeah, because it
I'm
was
gonna have to go do
conflicting. It was
Yeah.
conflicting with where you were in your life
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
the awareness that you were already gaining. You saw me better than I saw myself.
And I didn't have the patience at that time. I was like a no nonsense, like I'm not about to sit here and let you disrespect her. Like,
Yeah.
but I didn't have the tools to be patient and to allow Natalie to go through her challenges by herself. I thought I could save her from these challenges, which was causing issues,
Yeah.
you know? And it's a bittersweet thing to just like see things happen, but let people develop the tools to go through it. Because I
Yeah.
realized all through our relationship, I was doing it for her. I tell her, I was like, baby, I can't do your homework for you.
Yeah.
And I was doing it for her and realized like she wasn't getting the tools. I was just,
And meanwhile, she's telling me about myself, and all that's doing is triggering the crap out of me. So I'm like being triggered, like I'm doing something wrong. And it's triggering my deepest core wounds. My therapist calls it like the energy of trauma that keeps getting reignited in your relationship, like that resentment that you have towards your partner because they're telling you about yourself. That's really the resentment that you have towards your mother and your brother from
Yeah,
you and
for them not respecting your boundaries. It's very difficult when you obviously come from two very different backgrounds and what that path to who you are at the moment. Lauren may have been like, I'm good. I've worked through this. I used to deal with this, but I don't put up with this from family, or I place my boundaries. And if you're with someone that's like, well, no, we've never had boundaries in our family, or this just is the way it is, it's a little bit difficult for both people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you two were apart for 8 months. Did you all talk while you were apart?
At first, no. I think I initiated like, let's slow down on communication. And we tried that and we failed at it. Yeah.
You wanted to go like weeks without it.
I said, let's just try it. Let's set a goal for 2 weeks. That didn't work. We went back to texting every day, kind of like the regular good morning, good night type of thing. Maybe one call a day. But I noticed it was a shift. And I was like, man, we ain't got nothing to talk about. Or I would much rather be diving into the things that I like to do alone. I valued my alone time during this time. And at this point, I saw that it wasn't sitting well with Natalie, because in her mind, the stories that she was telling herself was she doesn't want to talk to me, or so we had to navigate the being individuals again.
I feel like when you're in a really healthy or a loving lesbian relationship, you do want to be with your person all the time. You do want to talk to them all the time. They're the first person you tell things to. And I try to tell this to my non-LGBTQ friends because they're like, well, it's the same. I'm like, no, it's a lot of the issues are the same between heterosexual and queer relationships. But I'm like, to me, the feelings are just so much more intense because you're used to being with them and you're used to that person being your person.
I remember when she drove away, it was literally like a piece of me was leaving. Like it felt like a hole. I had to first recognize that hole that I was feeling within myself was something that I depended on her for. I had to sit in the discomfort of the feeling of emptiness and recognize that emptiness is something that has always been there. But I learned to distract myself, and now I had no distractions to keep me from it. I could just focus on me.
damn.
The loving part of it can become codependence, and the things that you were working on before you got together, it's like, okay, well, now I'm not working on that anymore. Like, I was on a healing journey, but now I'm not doing that. I was working on this, but now it's just because you're with this person and you're in it. So once you all were separated for 8 months, what did that healing journey and kind of like awareness journey look like for you, Nathalie?
First, it started with figuring out what my routine was by myself. I realized just how intertwined everything I did was. Like, I wanted to go for a bike ride. I would always go for a bike ride with her, or I wanted to watch TV. Like, what do you want to watch? It's like now I'm in a space where I had to sit with myself and be like, all right, what is it that I want to do?
Yeah.
What is it that makes me excited? Essentially release that tether to her, and that kind of that codependency on like making sure it was okay with her or something that we wanted to do together. So yeah, my first step was learning how to create a routine on my own. I remember I going on bike rides by myself, like crying at first, and it was like I don't
You're
want
like,
to.
I miss
Yeah,
Lauren.
it was so much more fun when she was here, and I could go further when she's here, and blah blah blah. But I had to within those things that I did love to do together, I had to find my own beauty and my own enjoyment from it. I started taking different routes. I stopped at different places, and I recognized, or I saw things that I made me excited to go on a bike ride by myself, right?
Yeah.
Or I think this time I was doing a lot of more content creation, and I started doing a lot more dancing. I started doing a lot more cooking, like trying to tap into my own like creativity. And this is something that I think is so key, because tapping into the creativity center is where you can find like that individuality, that new sense of freedom. And so that's really what I was honing in on it, and rediscovering for myself. And I also created this playlist, man, because I was realizing just how negatively I was thinking. I'm not sure if you can recognize how one negative thought can lead to another thought. And like, I can get into a swirl and think like the world's going to end and this doom and my relationship's over, all of this stuff. And so I really had to focus on like, all right, now how can I not necessarily get myself to positive, but how can I bring my mindset to neutral? How could I bring my emotional space to a place where the pain of separation is not overtaking me. I did that through, I created this affirmation playlist, which we play to this day. Like we'll be jamming to this affirmation playlist.
We'll send it to you, and that way you can put it in the show notes and people can download it, because it's bomb.
It definitely is. I really focus on a lot of energy lifting activities. That was really my focus. Allow myself to feel, also allow myself to be okay in this space, and know that I'm strong, I'm okay by myself, I can survive. That's really what I was doing.
And I love that. I saw the whole process. It's like, yes, like this is the Nathalie that I want to see. I know that things are changing, but I love when you go do stuff by yourself.
We actually had that day yesterday. I wrote her a note, and I was like, hey, I'm going to spend today on my own. And I just stayed in my room all day.
Yeah. Yeah, they be tough, but it's just because it's a break in your routine.
Yeah.
But when you realize, like, I should be able to spend time by myself. Yes, I want to be with my partner, but I'm a whole individual without this partner here. And when we broke up and I was in Houston, I treated my healing journey like a race. I'm pretty extreme, and when I catch myself in a mode of like, Lauren, I don't like this about yourself, we're gonna go change this, I go head in. My mom actually gifted me a coach, and I was just like, I need to change these habits I see in myself, the things that I saw in myself during this relationship. And just to name some things, like my inner core things were like blame and that victimhood of like, you did this to me, I should have been protected. I went home into Houston to live with my parents. So again, I'm in my hometown with my family, and they are uprooting a lot of traumas within me. And I'm getting mad all over again. I'm like, I'm just pissed. Didn't want to talk to nobody. My mom and I had a heart to heart, and she was like, "Yeah, I heard about this lady. You can work with her." And at that time, I was like, I need to get over this. I need to just go head on. That's when I realized like healing journey is not, it has no finish line and you'll never be done. And that pissed me off even more. Oh, that's just the annoying thing about healing. Then you realize like, no, healing is understanding yourself and becoming self-aware, and all the things that you become aware of, whether it's good, bad, neutral, however you want to judge it, learn to live with it. Learn to like, this is me. Like I it's okay if it's not your favorite thing, but this is me. When I say that the blame and the trauma, I really unearthed some judgment too. I would judge other people because of how much I was judging myself. If there was something in me that I didn't like, I'm ready to change it. And I can't. That's what was popping up in our relationship. I'm like, I don't like this. Like, why can't you see this yourself? Like, how come you're dependent on me? How come, it was like a mismatch. And I realized I'm actually doing more harm than good. And I was like, I gotta work on this judgmental thing. I gotta figure it out. And my coach pointed out that it was my internal dialogue. It was a way that I talked to myself, which is what was popping up in our relationship. And it was real deep. And that time I was like, this was around March of 2023. 3 months later, me and her were actually good, and she would come to Houston and visit. We would go on camping trips. And that summer we got back together. Like we actually made a decision to travel to Thailand. We was like, you know what? We need to be in our own bubble again. We felt ready to try this again. Yeah. We felt ready to make that leap away from our family, being in comfortable environments, and we wanted to do this again. And so
we really focus on us, on ourselves as a couple and as individuals in the same space with this new understanding of ourselves. Yeah. And so our asses moved to Thailand.
Yeah, we were there for 6 months, and we've been traveling for the last 11 months.
Yeah.
I love that for y'all. You're together and you're creating these memories, and you are, not codependent, but you're depending on each other in a very intimate way. You see two women in real time creating the life that they want to live together. And it's very intentional. It's not like I'm going to worry about what my mom says, or I'm going to worry about what grandma has to say. It's like, no, this is the life we're choosing, and we're choosing to be with each other. So love that. I'm excited for y'all.
Thank you.
Talking about, us making this leap to live abroad and just stay abroad and stay in our bubble is also a healing journey within itself, because of exactly what you're saying. Like, you have your external people, your family that are looking in, your friends looking in, and trying to figure out, why are you doing that? And it's like, how can I explain it? It's like,
I'll say it's become evident that they don't quite understand at what point you have gotten in your life. Like, you have gotten to a point where I'm done caring about what other people are thinking. I'm done carrying out the life that my mom wants for me or my grandmother. I'm so far away that I don't even have to pick up the phone if I don't want to.
Yeah.
I'm doing everything that I feel that I need to do to make myself happy. And it's a journey, but it's a hard journey because you realize who really are supporting you.
Yeah.
You realize who really is rooting for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes the people, that's so hurtful, because the people you think are rooting for you, you're like, oh, you really didn't. Like, you really didn't care about my relationship, or you really didn't want this to succeed. To your point, Lauren, being in that bubble and being away and saying like, this is the life I'm going to create, regardless of my mama, my religion, my whatever, however I grew up. I think that's so important, because I always tell friends that are struggling with it, one, I don't want to not acknowledge that I know that's hard, right? Like, I know that's hard to just be like, F it, I'm going to do it. My ex-girlfriend said, you should talk about that on your show. Talk about how you got to like the F it stage. Like, I'm doing what I want to do. And I said, I don't want to talk about it because I'll make it sound easy. Like, that's my personality. I'm like, I'm not worried about y'all. I'll be good.
That's me.
Yeah. And it's like, for other people, like, man, that's tough. That's unlearning. That's literally going back to childhood. It's so much work around that. So I can't just say, fuck your family. Like, they'll be okay. But also, I'm like, your family and friends don't ask you before you make a decision. why is it now the person I choose to be with, it is only your partner that they care about? And it's only because it's same sex, because these men that be having babies on people and doing lots of other things, they're like, she got a good man. Like, how?
Yeah.
How? So it's
I,
only that.
I'm literally in the midst of that. And I wanted to speak on that because I recognize that the moment I brought a woman home, everybody's expectation of me completely was shattered.
Mm,
And I forever felt that.
yeah.
And so every move that I have made since has been almost like an indirect, like, oh, she's changed because of her. And then she becomes this like blame,
Scapegoat.
this scapegoat. And I'm like, nah, man,
I
y'all
just,
know, you know, you don't
like,
know what I want, what I like. Y'all don't know my life.
I'm now. I changed like what I like. I've changed, and that's the bottom line. Like, don't blame it on her.
You're supposed to change. You wanted me to stay the same? Anything that stays the same is dead. So like, what do you mean? I'm supposed to evolve.
Right.
We're in a space where it's like, okay, I'm like you. I'm at the fuck it stage. Once I was like, I'm going to date whoever I'm going to date because I came from religion and all that stuff and hiding my partners. I got to the fuck it stage way before her. And
Yeah,
so now she's in the midst of realizing who was on her side and who was rooting for her and who wasn't.
yeah,
And right in at this moment, she's like, but it hurts. It hurts to find out that people only wanted me to be this version of them myself to make them comfortable.
Right.
yeah,
The support is in a way performative. Like, I'm supporting you because I love you and this, I want to be seen in a positive light by you, but deep down inside, that's not how I feel. And
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
so you can truly feel the difference in like support. It becomes extremely crystal clear when you're not in their face all the time. When I'm over here and I call up certain people, I can completely tell whether or not they support what I'm doing, who I'm with my life. And it's not about, people always want to say actions speak louder than words. No, energy speaks louder than action and words.
yes. Because you read the energy before you read anything else. So it's like you feel that energy, and then it's like, okay, it's inevitable. Like, this is what you're going to say, or this is what you're going to like come back with, because I already felt that from you. And I when I first started dating women, one of my brothers, love them so much, have 5 brothers, love them, but one of them, he said, man, I just hate this for you. Like, I thought you were gonna marry my ex high school boyfriend. I thought you were gonna marry him. You have kids. You don't know me. You don't know me. I'm like, I have not wanted to have children since I was 21 years old. Like, I've never talked about children with this man past that. Maybe he and I talked about it at 20, but like we never talked about it. Like, I didn't want to get married. Like, none of these were my dreams. But the fact that my little brother was saying that, I'm like, who told you that? And even my mom, like, speaking of religious backgrounds, I got mad at her last year because she said something like, I hope before I go to my grave, you're married to a God-fearing man and you have children.
At what
First of
point does that
all,
have anything to do with me? Like,
what? And it's like, that's not me. Also, I'm like 82 years old. Like, when you think I'm having kids? And that's what I told her. I'm like, you see my life on Instagram, mom. It's a good life. It's a real life. But people want that version of you that they've created. Like, okay, sweet little Natalie's going to grow up and do this and be that. And then when you stray from it, it's like, who is this person? Lauren, to segue back to you, did you ever date men?
not for real, for real. Um, I had a boyfriend in 7th grade. It wasn't real. I had a long term, really good friend, guy friend, that I tried to date because my mama really liked him, and he was real cool. But that was never going to work out, and that relationship was throughout high school, and we had like a 10-year friendship. But
Mm-hmm.
no, not seriously.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I also want to touch on this because I said I was going to mention the beard. I noticed on one of your reels you talked about that, like, before you always cut it off and you were like, no, and like, this isn't me, or I don't want this, or whatever. Tell us all about this and your decision to say, like, no, I'm not waxing, I'm not shaving. Like, this is me and I'm embracing it.
Yeah, so this journey to authenticity is like a forever journey. And I started growing facial hair when I was in high school, maybe
Okay.
around junior, sophomore year. and it was pointed out and it was made fun of. I quickly, of course, you realize, okay, this is not acceptable. Let me do
Yeah.
something about it. And this is you're worried about your peers. This is a time where you really want to be accepted. Also go home to my mom who has stubble underneath her chin and she plucks it out all the time. It became a regular thing where my mom is plucking every hair on my chin. I go from plucking to naring and waxing and then naring because I'm realizing that all these ways that I'm taking hair from my chin is creating this dark spot and dark area. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't like that. After college, I have these dark ingrowns, and even to the point where my students are calling it out. I got to a point during our relationship, I was like, I really want to go back to re-examine how I feel about my facial hair. And so I really had to like come to terms with did I get rid of it because it was made fun of? And I didn't even give myself time to see how Lauren felt about it.
Yeah.
And so, and I also did not like going to get it waxed every week. That became expensive. I did laser hair removal. That was expensive and it wasn't permanent.
Painful.
And I was burned. I was
Yeah.
tired of the abuse behind just trying to
Be beautiful.
not I was always beautiful, but but it was behind the some I didn't like how if people make me do something to myself. I didn't like that. Like you make fun of me, I go and shave my beard. Like it didn't fit right with me, especially in the scope of my healing journey and things like that. And so in this relationship, I felt safe and I felt cool. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to spread time between my waxing and shaving and things like that. And I noticed my ingrown started to get better and the dark spots got better. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do another month and another month. And I'm hanging around friends, feeling all self conscious in me. But I was like, Lauren, sit with those feelings, sit with how it feels, and where it's coming from. And so I would ask myself real questions. And there was this one time I asked my good friend, I was like, do you see it? She was an esthetician. She was like, honestly, no, I didn't see it. I didn't see the shadow or nothing like that. And I can't even tell.
Yeah.
So I started to extend it. It was like a 1 year mark before I shaved. And sometimes I do shave and sometimes I don't. And sometimes I color it and things like that. But I'm like, oh, I like this. I like how I feel with my beard. The fact that I can go out to the world and say, fuck you. Like nothing you can say. I already said it to myself. I already felt those feelings and I sat with those feelings. Now there's nothing you can say. I see the looks and I see the curiosity, and then I also see
The intimidation.
and people don't know how to take me. But it's been a journey. But I really, really love the freedom to say, okay, I'm going to grow this out or I'm going to shave it, but I'm not going to feel that pressure to do it to myself just because of outside judgments.
Yeah, it's your choice. If I want to do this, then I can, but no one else is going to make me feel like I have to be accepted.
Well, there's an assumption too with me being gay and me being with a woman that I want to be a man and things like that. But I very much love being a woman.
Yeah.
I very much love, all parts of myself. That's what this journey was. And, I've just let people have their comments or their judgments, but has nothing to do with how I want to present. I want to present as the most authentic version of myself. That's what people see.
Yeah, I want to tag in there. Like, even though she does present like masculine, she is the feminine. She is very full of feminine energy.
I'm very soft. I think where that hard protector comes out is when I go out in public,
Right.
Because of that's But yeah, I'm more softer at home.
Right. Yeah.
And I think we should be allowed to be that way. It's like I always say, like I'm a textbook example of a femme. When I want to be swaggy and throw on my J's, throw on my Air Max, whatever, it's like, it's not like I'm dressed like a boy. It's like, I want to swag it out a little bit. I dated a woman before. She's like, I hate when you wear tennis shoes. I hate when you wear shorts. That's because your idea of femme is what I have on. I have my feminine energy. When I'm at work, it's not masculine energy, but it's more assertive energy. But in my relationships, I do tend to be pretty spoiled and soft. But I'm like, you get to decide that, and if I want to show up and be a little bit more assertive one day, like I would hope that I'm with a partner that's like, okay, like this is the new you today. Like, okay. I think in the queer community, it's so much pressure to fit inside of a box. This is what a gay woman, what a lesbian, this is what a bisexual looks like.
From my point of view, and being a listener to your episodes, I don't mind hearing what people identify as. I like the space that you give people and you make it open. But I do want to say, like, yeah, you don't have to put yourself into a box. I'm gonna go as far as to say that some of us, without us, whether we know it or not, we feel comfortable in being able to label something, you know, and there's uncomfortability when there isn't an opportunity to label something, especially when you're in those the in between. I think I listened to someone who you said was in a marriage and you know and then dated a woman after that, and you just want to find a point in which you can start from and say, well, okay, I don't date men now, I date women. How do I tell people that, and then move forward, and I'll figure out where to go from there.
Yeah, I think that there's a level of belonging that people crave because they've been excluded so much from society, from what's normal. And so the idea of like, what are you? And labeling that for themselves is like, okay, I have a place. I have something I can call myself.
People can connect with this
Right.
this thing that I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I do want to go back to masculine and feminine energy, since this is something that's been on our hearts like in the past week. Is the masculine and feminine energy goes beyond what's on the outer exterior.
Yes.
Masculine energy and feminine energy, we have them both, and it's important for them to be balanced. And so masculine energy characteristics are, like you said, assertiveness, control, sometimes, you know, being able to make a decision. What are masculine energy also is producing work, you know, and feminine energy is more so flow, creativity, play, allowing, the art of being versus masculine doing. So I just wanted to highlight that everybody have both energies. But if you find yourself imbalanced and you're like, I'm taking control too much, or I cannot relax, then you're like, okay, let me find some characteristics of the feminine energy that can help me balance.
Yeah, like for me, I'm very anxious. I have a lot of anxiety towards like, well, what do I do now? What if this happens? What is my next step? And the anxiety that I experience is the attempt to control the outcome. And so for me this past week and what I've been moving towards is more so flow and more so just how she said, just the art of being and not trying to do anything, and just being okay and sitting with like, yes, I don't feel okay right now. I feel anxious, but I feel anxious because I feel like I'm out of control. What if I just allow that feeling of out of control to just go, like just be with it. And I think our travels have also been a testament to that journey of allowing and releasing ourselves from societal constraints, from family constraints, from our own expectations of each other, and learning how to just be.
Because we can't control nothing out here in these streets.
The art of flowing, because you really do have to just flow. It's like, what am I going to do out here? Like, at some point you have to surrender, and you do what you can, but then you have to surrender to say, like, this is what it is. If you're in a healthy relationship and y'all are on the same page, then it's like, okay, we're solution oriented when we travel, you know, we're flowing, we're going to be flexible, we're going to be adaptable. And everyone doesn't do that. It sounds like for your individual and collective healing journeys, this is so great to show that we can flow, we can adapt, we can do our own thing and still come together to like have a loving relationship.
Hopefully your listeners will appreciate this non-toxic relationship.
No, that's what's wrong with people. They like toxicity. I don't know if y'all listened to the episode from this week. My homegirl that was on this past week talks about this girl she dated that was hiding behind cars, ducking, getting dropped off in her
guns up to her head.
Never.
The entire episode, I was talking to her because this has been a friend of mine since 6th grade. So we were talking very candidly. And so I said, I don't know. I might have went back to my husband after all of this because that's too much. I was like,
I listened to that episode and you was right. I would have went back.
Yeah, I'd be like, baby daddy, where you at? Because no, them girls was.
Then the son, I think the son or the daughter was still staying with her after the girl left.
That's what she said. She was like, and then because her son was staying there, I was like, why? So you all are relationship coaches or communication coaches. I heard you say communication coach earlier, Nathalie.
Relationship coaches, but really niche in communication. And we released an ebook last week on how to fight less and love more. And so just the real structure into how to communicate and how to not make arguments become, heated.
Fights.
Yeah.
How to navigate around and communicate through your emotions.
And all of that inspired through our experiences, tools that we actually used at work.
Were you all scared to come out as kind of like this couple, like a YouTube couple, an Instagram couple? Were you scared to even put that much scrutiny on your relationship?
The whole idea of us even putting ourselves online came from us being able to talk about any and everything. So we would just be in our apartment in DC, just like yapping, and we'll be like, man, we could have had the camera on, and like this is a conversation that we could just have with people. That really is what inspired us to just put our thoughts online, put what we were experiencing online, and beyond just like our relationship, but the real ins and outs of what we were going through and what we were learning, because we were at a point in our lives where both of us had been in relationships or situationships that were toxic, that was hurtful, that was painful, not just romantic, but even going back to our family relationships, how what we saw happening within our own home, the cheating, the anger, just all of the things that made the little girl inside so scared and needing to protect ourselves, that we knew coming into this relationship we did not want to perpetuate. We did not want to continue that cycle. And so,
to answer your question, no, we weren't scared. We were really excited, and it started off kind of like what you said. You said this podcast is kind of like a passion project. So we were playing around on YouTube, and we were recording our conversations, and we're like, oh, we should talk about this. Oh, we should talk about this. And it kind of just blossomed into, wow, this is really helping people. People are in our DMs saying, man, your vulnerability is really helping us, especially when we got open about our breakup. That was unplanned. It was hurtful. It was unearthing some really new things about ourselves. And we were like, you know what? If this is what it takes, you have people looking up to Will and Jada. I want that Will and Jada type love. But then you realize that Will and Jada don't even have a Will and Jada type love.
Right.
And so I'm like, the only way for people to heal and to really get realness out of relationships is you don't have to put all your stuff on Front Street. You don't even have to do what we doing. But I think we understood the assignment of, we really care about, if anything, if I ever saw a healthy relationship, it's what we got.
Yeah.
And if we are going through anything, we gotta, I got on us about like, we need to record what it is that we're going through. What are your real feelings? Because people feel this. And people are in this cyclical thing where they cannot escape. And they may not even have $4,000 to go to a coach or a therapist or nothing. Let's let people learn from our real experiences. And so for the last 3 years, we've been on social media and just like putting out ebook after ebook and putting out resource after resource.
It's just so refreshing to see a couple that's like, okay, there's TikToks and there's fun things, but it's real content, and it's content that you're like, okay, maybe I can take a piece from this. Maybe I can take a piece here. You all launched a podcast. What's the podcast about?
So it's called Divine Reconnection, and we've taken a break since leaving Colombia to come to Brazil. You have a little bit of our travels in there and listening to your gut of when you need to leave your hometown, because you can just grow so much. I know you are in Denver now, but you were in Houston and California and all these places. And we talked about our period of disconnection. Mm-hmm. And we actually had this recently while we were in Medellin, Colombia, where this was a chance for us to break a cycle of, when she's feeling triggered, I run to her and try to make her feel better. And then when she's, and so we kind of just put a stop to that. You're like, you know what? If she's triggered, let her go in a corner and let her figure that out. And then I'll go in a corner and figure that out. And during that 2-week, I think it was a 2-week disconnection, I came up with the idea. I was like, let's celebrate the fact that we got out of this. Like,
I love that.
If there's anything, you're going to go through disconnection all the time in a relationship. But, the celebration of coming back together, that refresh, we made it a whole thing. We're like, we're going to start having dates, a special date So we
Yeah.
went out to this really nice, fancy, like bowling slash place. Is really, really nice in Columbia. We had us a grand time. And it was our celebration of getting out of a period of disconnection. So the
Yeah.
next time we
Back
go through
together.
that, we won't think all hell's about to break loose. We'll be like, yes, when we get out of this, we about to go
Yeah.
party, you know?
I think couples will always have like these periods of disconnection, especially if this is like a long-term partnership, right? And I also think like you will be triggered. There's no way, I don't care how hard you work, there's no way you're not going to be triggered. I think it's important for the partner to understand what those triggers are. And like you said, to say like, okay, like let me back away. Let me not increase the triggering. Let me not keep trying to force something, because that's just doing more damage, and it's a place you may not be able to come back from. But it's like if you take a step away to say like, okay, she's triggered, let's disconnect. And a celebration, that's fun. I love a celebration.
It sounds so easy that, while we're saying this, it took a lot of trial and error.
Yes.
So it takes a lot of emotional intelligence to understand
Absolutely.
what your partner may need, especially if you're triggered and your little child in you is like, no, but it's my turn. I'm always running after her.
Yeah.
And so in our resources and in our ebooks, we teach emotional intelligence. We teach the signs to look for and like try this instead, and give our real opinions and real things that we came out of.
I think that is so important to recognize that and this is why we created the podcast, why we've literally chosen the being coaches in the first place, is to recognize that your relationships and your closest relationship is your biggest teacher. Your
Yeah.
triggers are not a trigger. Your triggers wouldn't be a trigger if there wasn't a button to push. Okay,
Right.
right. That is what we just always are trying to emulate within all of the branches that we show to our audience.
Okay, so Natalie, tell me 3 things that you love about Lauren.
One, I love your presence. How she is just so okay. She is a bright sunshine. Like every day she wakes up, she's like, she opens the window. It's a beautiful day. I love my life. And so I gotta be like sometimes I'll be in my own thing and I'm like, you know what? It is a beautiful day.
It's a great day today.
Like I do love my life, and she's a constant reminder for me to be like, you know what? There's things that I need to be, that I can be grateful for, instead of just, she's a consistent shift in my mindset for me.
I love that.
And so, yeah, your presence literally brings, oh baby, your presence literally brings that. It reminds me, like, girl, get out your head.
Be present. Yes.
I don't know. Okay, so presence. I love how confident you are. I'm gonna say confident in how much you love yourself. I admire how much she truly loves herself. I have never seen anybody, and this is not to be like this ego or anything. She looks at herself in the mirror all the time, but it's like
She's like, damn, I'm fine.
yeah, no, like for real, she'll be like, God damn, that's what
Natalie.
It's gonna sound like vanity.
it does sound like that, but it's not. It's more so
Natalie,
like,
you saw she cut you off earlier when you were like saying something and you were like, oh, what to be pretty? She was like, I've been pretty. So anyway.
exactly. She keeps leveling up, and I'm so honored to be a witness of the level up. I'm like, I'm here for the ride. And so, yeah, I love. See, no, it's. I love how much she loves herself, just how much she takes care of herself, how much she just, like, even when she's like moisturizing herself, she's like,
yes.
and I guess for someone who's always struggled with truly like embracing all of me and loving my body and all the dips and all the rolls and everything, she's a constant reminder to me of just how beautiful you are no matter what.
That's crazy to hear, and I know you tell me this, but it was not like that all the time. As far as my journey and how I had to learn to love myself and learn that inner self-worth. And I see that rubbing off. I don't know if she lost a lot of weight just loving herself. And I'm glad that I know she talked about the physical and things and what I do, but just how I take care of myself, how I talk to myself, she taught me how to feed myself and what to put in my body, and just seeing that bounce off of each other and watching her now talk to herself, watching her now, that's just beautiful to see, and just to see that we're truly a reflection of each other.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna cry.
I only got the two parts, but I think the two things were like,
Oh, there you go. Good.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, now Lauren, tell us 3 things you love about Nathalie.
Natalie is always so bubbly. I know of the negative self thoughts, her inner dialogue. I know that what that's about because of, our relationship. But when we meet people, when we are with my family, I think they love her more than they love me.
Oh.
My brothers just love Natalie. My cousin calls me on the phone and she just wants to talk to Natalie. She wants to talk to me too, but where's Natalie? She's so bubbly. She's so lovable. When we meet people in our travels, they much rather talk to her because I guess I'm so intense, but it's all good. I love her the same way people love her. And so I just love that. Everything is positive about her. That's interesting. You talked about the negative, but you are very positive, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But let me see. You are gorgeous, bro. Like she's gorgeous. Ooh. She makes everything look effortless. I don't know if you know, but she's a below the knee amputee.
Oh,
And
okay.
yes, and she's a dancer with this prosthetic leg.
Yeah.
She doesn't let anything stop her. And she's just like, and she know everything about everything. She's always teaching me stuff, which I enjoy. I love hearing. I think it was one of the first things I loved about her is that when she was teaching me about Seoul and South Korea, and she knows Korean, and I'm just like, bro, what can't you do? She's just a gift that keeps giving. Like honestly, like a lot of the work that you see on our page and a lot of the design and the website and everything, that's her teaching me, and now I know how to do, but that's her creativity, and so yeah, I love that about her.
I love it. This is so sweet. This is sweet. Okay, so to wrap things up, one, thank you both so much. I love talking about gay shit. I love talking to other women. So it's just been really exciting connecting and hearing people's queer journeys and holding a space for people to listen and they say, I feel seen or I went through this. And so I know I've had lots of toxic relationships.
But they're representative that it happens. It happens.
Yeah, this is the real world. So I know we've had this, but I really wanted to highlight the two of you beautiful ladies to really show that you're creating your own path and now you're traveling the world together. You're in love, you're nourishing and loving and respecting each other. So I hope that listeners and viewers are really inspired that this is 5 years in, y'all. Like this looks good. So thank you. Tell the listeners tell them your Instagram, YouTube, anything else you want to share with them.
Yeah, you can follow us on every platform, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Her and Her Girlfriend. You can listen to our podcast, the Divine Reconnection Podcast, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can also listen to it on YouTube. If you are struggling through communication issues with your partner or just want to elevate your own awareness around communication and building healthy relationships, we just put out an 80-page ebook filled with all of our insights, our own case studies, things we haven't even heard, things we haven't even talked about, things that really redefined the layout of our relationship, the foundation of our relationship. Our ebook is called Fight Less, Love More: 5 Shocking Techniques to Transform Conflict and Create Emotional Safety in Your Relationship. If you are interested in this ebook, you can find it on our website at laurenandnat.com.
Yeah, definitely follow us on Instagram. That's where we're the most active. Again, at Her and Her Girlfriend.
Girlfriend on Instagram, and I of course will tag them in all of the show notes and as I'm putting out this episode, so you all will be able to connect. So thank you, ladies, again. It was such a pleasure and so great meeting y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you for holding space. I think that this is very, very much needed. Wherever there's space held is needed. So even if this is a passion project, like I'm an avid listener, I'll be like, dang, I really love the first 4 episodes about you and getting to know you and stuff like that, what your journey is. But keep doing this, keep
Oh,
doing
thank
this.
you. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
she's listened to every episode.
One of my friends said, well, at this point, I just put it on when I'm cleaning up. And they literally text me every single thought that comes through their mind as the podcast is going on. I was like, y'all don't need to live tweet me. You don't need to live.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, ladies. As always, remember, you define you. Do not let others define you. Thank y'all so much for joining us for another episode of the Fake Straight Podcast. You can follow us on all the socials at Fake Straight Pod. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you want to hear more of. Tell us what you love, what you didn't love. All that good stuff. And until next time, holla.